Hello, hello, hello. Time to get this party started. Questions?
Hi, I have one.
You're only allowed one. So this better be the best question of
No,
all
but
time.
for just for started.
Yeah.
Okay, I read in the internet that
Oh,
you're
you
going.
don't believe everything in the internet. All right,
Yeah.
that's your first. That's your first problem.
Yeah. Okay. I'm asking you because I read that you're going to be at the non-stop in Barcelona in May. I remember this year. So,
Don't believe the internet.
are you going to be or not?
Don't believe the internet. All right, next question.
Yeah. It's. Do you recommend me to go to one of these
Oh
events?
yeah, absolutely. And yes, I am going to be there. And
Okay.
I'm not just saying that because I'm going to be there too. You should absolutely go to these events very often. Yes,
Because there are not many in Spain, and uh,
absolutely,
Barcelona is close to my city. Then, so okay. And
absolutely.
I
That's
have
exactly right.
another question in relation to this.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
could you explain uh, what are you guys going to do at that kind of event? Some workshop or chat or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to do some talking, and
Uh-huh.
then also these types of events are really powerful because they connect you with artists that you would have never otherwise met. And what you realize is that people are just down to earth. That's like one of the biggest things you'll come to realize is that, oh yeah, AJ is just a dude. And it's really inspiring because then you meet other people that are local or nearby and you get a real opportunity to
Mhm.
just experience the community. And I love events because of that and that reason alone. And so that's why I highly recommend to go to events.
Okay,
And I'm
because
not just saying my own either. I'm saying
uh-huh.
like in general. Like I used to when I was a student to go to events all the time. And I learned some of the most important things I ever needed to learn from going
Mhm.
to these events. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
it. That's my advice.
I will be there then.
All right, dude. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be really fun. You're gonna enjoy it. I promise.
Yeah, one friend of mine told me that we can go this year, and he was your student too, like the 1 year ago, more or less. And
Oh, cool. What was it? What's his name?
Victor Fernandez,
Oh yeah.
he is now in Nottingham working with Games Workshop.
Oh, cool.
So we will be there in May,
Awesome. I'll see you then.
and I don't know. Everyone, others should make a question. I don't know.
That's your only question for the year. So no more questions.
I have
Yeah.
a lot, but I need to think how formulate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will think about it uh, while other makes another question.
Yeah, sure. Um, what brushes do I use? Round brush.
I was kidding, man. Please don't answer that.
I
It's
just
like the
did. That's the answer.
one on YouTube. How do you best sort of systematically decide on the poses for your characters? Because I'm having a lot of trouble deciding how to pose my guys to really sell who they are, and I'm wondering if you've got a technique for that, or whether you just sort of just have such a good visual library and it comes with time.
A little bit of both, but the more pragmatic answer to that would be this, which is I usually just do the silhouette. Right? I usually will do. Oh, that's just an interesting idea. Just got a great idea. I usually just do the silhouette of the character. And when I do the silhouette of the character, I kind of do like a stick figure drawing of it. And that's pretty much it, right? And then I just fill up the stick figure. But the thing is that I have like a really good stick figure that I usually use. So what does that mean? Well, a normal stick figure looks like this, right? Like you got the head, the body, the arms, and the legs, right? So then if we were to do it like a stick figure standing, it's like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
But proportionately, that's incorrect, right? We're missing a few anatomical things, and proportion-wise, it's not accurate either. So if you have the head, then you need the rib cage, and then you need the pelvic bone. And once you have these three things deciphered, then you should put in the clavicle, the expanse from the femur, right?
Mm.
And then you can draw the stick figure, and it's usually like this. I usually off-center the arms, and I usually off-center the legs.
It's Michael Hampton's technique.
Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah. And then when you're doing this in perspective, you just think about those three landmarks. The rib cage I usually draw first, the head, and the pelvic bone, because then we get a good idea of the perspective of the spine. And then we can put the clavicle, the expanse of the femur, and then we just go from there. Now, here's another tip. Let's say you want your character to have their hands in front of them holding like a sword or something. Or maybe they're holding something. So you draw their hands first, and then you draw the arms connected to that.
Okay.
Because if you do it the other way, right, which is normally what people do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Then you're guessing where the hands are, and then if you misguess, then it's like you might not end up with the right thing. But if you have the hands, like let me try to draw the hands in another position like this or something. But I've done it enough that I actually have some foresight, right? And it's like holding a bar over their shoulders. But if I were to say, let's say this character is holding a staff, right? And then planting their feet as well. Right, and then you can put their legs accordingly. And now you can decide, like, do I want it to be like this? Do I want it to be like that? You know? Cool. You can decide kind of the silhouette created from that. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So get the head, or the rib cage, the pelvic bone, and the head in place right away, and then go from there.
Right. Is there like a more like in terms of actually posing the guy, like what sort of pose he should be doing, rather than physically painting the pose, like choosing the right pose for the right character? Like I know cocky characters tend to have like specific poses associated with them. How do you choose that for each one?
Yeah, and that goes back to the answer, or the part of the answer that you already kind of gave, which is like having a strong visual library.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Because timid people, and this is like biologically wired in us, we can kind of tell. Timid people or more mellowed out people tend to, slouch, tend to not make eye contact, tend to bring all their body parts close to their body, like their arms and legs. More confident people are more open. They have broader shoulders. They're leaned back, always making eye contact, and then there's just variation in between. Make sense?
Cool. Yeah.
And these types of things are actually relatively intuitive.
Yeah.
Most people don't need to learn this. This is like built into us. You just got to be able to identify it. That's it. And then
once like a systematic approach, but it seems it's just more intuitive than...
Yeah, and then with that knowledge, then you do what I just showed you, like find, because it's what tends to happen is people just draw generic bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's usually why they run into these kind of personal, or like these like lack of personality in their paintings. Because if I were to ask you to draw a sad face, right, you could do that. You just draw like this, right? Ask you to draw a happy face, ask you to draw an angry face, ask you to draw a concerned face, you know? Like, you could do all that. Now, think about it with a little bit more anatomic correction or anatomical adjustments. Right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a matter of knowing how to draw this. Most people actually do. It's a matter of execution.
Yeah.
Making it believable. But it's really simple. It's not that challenging to like draw different personalities. Or I'm sorry, that is challenging. What's not challenging is to understand how to draw. Like, what are those different personalities? There are some nuances, right?
Mm.
There's like nuance to what people can do with their facial expression, you know, that we can catch if they make those facial expressions, you know? Like if someone's slightly upset, but they're not like making an overly angry face, but you can tell by like the twitch of their eye or something like that, you know? Like those are some more nuanced stuff. And that's what like good acting and actors usually do really well. They have nuance nailed down. Usually a common mistake of bad actors is that they smile. Because usually when people are lying, they tend to smile a little bit more. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just a subtle thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that if you smile all the time you're a liar. But there's a little part of your brain that's kind of like oh, we're getting away with this, and it brings some pleasure.
Yeah.
and it's hard to hide that.
Yeah.
So good actors, at least like a decent actor, they just don't smile. You know, when they're not supposed to, they're just like, they have that stupefied face. That's like characters like Kristen Stewart, or I'm sorry, not characters, but actors like Kristen Stewart do fairly well in a lot of different movies because her default face is like just not smiley. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis is another like just default bitch face. These are good actors because of that. Yeah. You know? Immediately, and then they just expand upon that. Especially Daniel Day-Lewis, he's really good.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Jason because he's had to go to work. So
okay.
It doesn't come from me. He asks.
Yeah, whatever, you liar. Yeah, we know.
How would you make unique thumbnails for specific criteria like those of Dungeons and Dragons, i.e. Grandmaster Thief, small and unassuming build, giant floppy hat? I don't know what that means, but...
yeah, whenever you get like a specific kind of, like if it's not open range, like kind of what you guys did for the class, nothing really actually changes. You just have now some very clear limitations. Okay. For instance, I actually did some stuff for the Dungeons and Dragons, and I just look at the reference and I just create a variety based off of it. typically what I'll do, if it's like very clear, like it's already a really well established project, you know, then I'll go ahead and you know what, I'm gonna do something. Then I'll go ahead and just kind of build off of what already exists and just create iterations. Does that make sense? So like, you know how you do your thumbnails to find the ideas, and then once you found those ideas, we iterate. I kind of just skip the find the ideas phase and go straight to iteration, because at that point we already have an idea of the design, right? It's already established. Excuse me. You know, and so it doesn't make sense for me to just reinvent the design if it's already it already exists at some level. And so that's usually what I do to approach things of that nature. Now, things that I feel don't have established ideas just yet, then I'll typically find ways to just reinvent what the client might have thought they were looking for. But I generally don't get too caught up in that stuff. Like I don't get too floaty with my designs. I try to have, I always think of some sort of constraint whenever I'm working, even if like it's still open ranged. When we were doing our game jam too, like we would do the same thing. We would say, okay, we are going to stick within this range, you know? So I think overall, like whenever you're working on someone else's ideas, it's best to just stick as close as you can to what they were looking to achieve with their designs. And then you usually will do okay. But I tend to not worry too much at all about having a lot of variety in an already established design. But if if the idea isn't that established, then I'll try to push some variety. And it's really in those circumstances. But in the case of you guys, like this is your project, so you guys can go in any which way. But creating some limitations is not a bad idea.
Cool. And second question from him, and then I'll shut up. How do you paint drapery and folds in thumbnails without spending lots of time trying to design it physically accurate? And that's from Jason.
Oh, yeah, that's simple. Just don't worry about it. Like just like if you're doing like a cloth like this, you just do something like this, and then it's like cloth. You know, maybe put like a little bit more shadow and perspective and some depth into it, but then I'll just call that cloth. And usually the way that I think of cloth at a very primary level is that you have an object and then you have the cloth hanging off of that object. And so there's a lot of tension that comes from the top, and depending on the thickness of the fabric will determine how many folds there are as well. But generally I kind of do like a medium grade thickness. And so then if you have a character that has like a belt, it's the same idea. It's like around this cylindrical form right there, and it drapes from there. If it's like over the shoulder, like let's say here's like the shoulder of the character, and there's drapery falling on top of that, the point where all the tension would exist will be most likely right here. So then, you know, you just make it all kind of fall from there. And then I just paint it in like at a very rapid rate. I just see the folds as these three-dimensional forms, right? So then I go in here and I just paint them as like these kind of semi-cylinders. And then I know there's like a larger form to be painted, so then paint all that, which is like the spherical shape of the folds. He's not here to confirm or deny if that makes sense, but does that make sense to the rest of y'all? Should. It's not too complicated. Folds aren't really as complicated as people make them out to be. In fact, a lot of things aren't nearly as complicated as people make it out to be. the hardest thing about most painting is painting forms, like folds, materials, anatomy. All these things have one thing in common, and that's form, right? And most people don't see the forms or understand the forms. So then when they're painting it, they mistaken their lack of ability on something else other than forms, but it's really forms almost always. And so if you're having a hard time painting folds, you might not understand the forms of your folds. Once you understand them, then it's easier to paint them. I had a friend who just messaged me about like anatomy tips. He's having a hard time. And I said, send me what you got so I can give you some feedback. And he sent me what he got. And sure enough, he has no idea of the forms of the anatomy that he's painting and drawing. And I'm like, you don't know how the rib cage actually is as a form. And not just a form, like as a primary form. Like you don't know what it is as a primary form. A form at its basic level, you don't know what it is. And because you don't know what it is, it's hard to paint it. It's really that simple. And so I just told him that right now, so we'll see how he responds. But generally speaking, that's usually the problem. So yeah, painting folds, it's not too challenging. Just, I'm not saying that I'm the best at it either. It's just there's definitely some nuance to it, but almost all that nuance lives and dies on top of the fact that you know the form or not. And most people don't.
I have a question.
Go for it.
And I also typed it because I know it's easier to understand from my writing. You can read it. How long? It is kind of stupid, but how long do you think it should take for one person to get good enough to start working?
Like how long will it take to become a concept artist officially?
Yes. I'm talking about doing nothing but staying at home and practicing.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't have a definitive answer to this, but I do have an answer. How long will it take you to be good? I think will probably range between 2 to 3 years. Right. And I don't mean like okay. I mean like really good. Like you're going to be pretty good. And this is with the idea that you're painting consistently, and not even for 8 hours a day, but like at least 6 hours a day minimum. Okay. Because that's a lot of painting. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're genuinely practicing, and even if you're practicing wrong, if you do that continuously, you're going to get pretty good at it. Okay. So then how long does it take for you to get like a job? Well, that's a much harder question to answer. But every year after those 2 to 3 years, you just keep getting better if you keep it up. And so you keep increasing your chances every year. You get it?
Yeah.
And so the reason why I think it takes only 2 to 3 years is because of how much information is available. Do you get it? Like there's a lot of knowledge out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's available to you. If you have internet, you have access to it. Right? And there's a lot. And there's a lot of great tutorials, a lot of great educators, you know?
Yeah.
There's a tremendous amount. And all these great platforms have tools for you to really grow and expand your abilities, you know? And so what you have to take into consideration is all of that. And so that's why it's going to take you less time. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And then What does that actually mean? Well, it just means that you're just competent. You feel pretty comfortable with your process. You feel pretty comfortable with your abilities. Okay. Enough that you feel like you can keep getting better, right? And you will. Now, I have some people who are already really good who message me from time to time, and they say that they're not getting jobs and they don't know why. And so that's why I always say there's really just two things that you should be focusing on. And I already talked about one right now, right? And do you remember what the other one was?
Be specific of your subject matter.
No,
Like,
not that.
oh, okay.
That's part of being good, right? If you're more focused, you'll be better. But what's the other thing that will help you get jobs or get work?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'll tell you.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. You failed me. It's the ability to get your work out of there, right? Like people to know you exist, right? To go to events, to do contests, to get exposure, right? Those are the two things you have control over. You don't have any control over anything else. Understand?
Yeah. But given I don't have much chance to go to any international, how you say it, event. Yes.
Why not?
Because I lived in Vietnam and there's no event over here. I'm talking about international events, not Vietnamese artist events.
Yeah, but why can't you go to international ones?
Because of lacking of money.
Is that the only reason?
Yeah.
It's not a very good limitation. If you were to save $20 a month,
okay,
right? That's like $200.
Yes.
Right. You can do that, right? And that could get you enough money to pay for a ticket to any one of these events, right? So you could definitely do that. Like some of these major, epically large ones, you might cost a little more money. Okay, but let's say it's $200, right? To get an entry, because that's usually what it is. Okay, so then how much more would you need to pay to go fly out there? Well, sometimes some of these events are close to you. For instance, I'm going to Manila in a month, right? Comic-Con, Asia.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how far Manila is from Vietnam. Vietnam to Manila. Okay, so Ho Chi Minh City, Manila. Wait, cheap flights from Vietnam to Manila. If this is true, this is pretty cheap. Vietnam. Which is the airport that you would be able to go?
It's Nội Bài. Start with N.
Nội Bài? I don't see it.
Hello, yes. Yeah.
This one?
The first one. The first one. Yes.
That starts with the H. You fool.
Yeah. You ask airport, so I say the airport name.
Okay. I believe it's the 23rd, 26th. Let's see.
All right.
Okay, so round trip is $310. So that means that you need to save $30. Oh wait, no, it's cheaper. You'd have to save $30
for the flights. Yeah.
For the flight.
So,
just for the flight, $30 a year. Or you can be a little bit more, rapid about that. Take on a side job, work at like a deli for like a month.
Yeah.
Get the money and go. I mean, it's actually still not too late. Just try to get like upwards of $500, so you have enough money to try to get like a hotel too. You know, I'm sure it's not that expensive.
Okay.
And you can go and you can meet me. Think about the price of the class. If you were able to spend that much money, you can get it somehow, right? You can figure it out. Take commissions, do this. If money is the reason why you can't go, then the other people who do try to find the money are going to beat you.
Right.
You get it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have to be rich to travel to these places. I'm just saying you got to be resourceful. That's it. You want to be the story of the person who said that you come from a small town in Vietnam and you don't have a lot of money to your name, and what you did is you worked your butt off. You used to work as a fisherman. I don't know what the fuck you guys do in Vietnam. It's an overgeneralization, and then you do that for you did that for like a whole year. You saved up 30 grand. That's not reasonable. Like you saved up 5 grand, right?
Yeah.
And you went to THU, which is one of the largest events in the world for artists. And I think 5 grand would be enough for you to do all that stuff, right? To get tickets, get a sweet ass hotel, and enjoy the trip without any worries, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you don't need that much. I think you can even get away with less than that. But my point is that you really worked to get that money and to go to the event, and you go there, you show your portfolio, you get inspired, and you come back with more connections that you could have ever had from just staying at home. Get it?
Yeah.
And more importantly, potentially get a job. I had a student who had the same complaint. He was like, I don't have money. I don't have time to go out there. I don't know where to stay. I was like, and he's like, plus they already sold out tickets. And I said, sorry, coughed right in the mic. I said to him, the tickets aren't a problem. I can talk to Andre himself and ask him to give me a ticket. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, you're going to have to buy it though. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if I got money or not. I was like, look, Andre's willing to give you a ticket to buy right now. So borrow some money, and then just work some more later and go, right? Like you could see he was complaining about he wanted to go, but he couldn't. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And so he borrowed some money from his parents, I think. He bought the ticket to fly out there. He didn't have anywhere to stay, but we have like our Facebook group, and we had, communication on Skype and stuff. So he got together with some of the students. They already had a hotel. He shared a hotel with them. Yeah. And then he stayed there. He had a gold pass ticket because it's the ticket that got available to him. He went to the mixers, talked to some people there, talked to some recruiters, and then ended up getting a job working at CD Projekt.
Wow.
The guys who make Witcher.
Yeah.
And he made connections with tons of people. Wow. Okay? Because I told him that he was actually really good, and because he was. And I was like, I don't see any reason why you can't work right now. You just need to get your work in front of people. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I want to go to THU, but I can't. And that's where that conversation started.
Yes. Okay.
Listen, I'm not trying to say that money isn't a problem. Okay? I agree. What I'm trying to say is that people who use money as their main excuse, when I don't feel any justification for it, I generally try to reveal that to them. Okay? Like if you were a Syrian refugee, okay? Yeah. And the $500 that you took to take my class, you spent, was the money that you were supposed to use for food, but you figured you just eat bread for the month. And you're using internet from like someone else's internet. Like you found someone else's internet. You're like standing behind their wall. You got their password somehow. And you're using their internet to take my class. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're in this position and then if I said everything I just said, like, you should go travel and do all this stuff. And then you told me it's really challenging because of money. Like I'm a Syrian refugee. I can't even use the internet. I would give you much different advice. Get it? Because I would be like, okay, yeah, that shit's real. Okay, you got some real problems, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Like, let's first get you a place to fucking stay. Let's get you some bread. I'll just refund you the money. It's like you made a mistake. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, so you
but
might
it's
want
not
more
the situation. I don't think it's the situation for you. I think you can do it. You know?
Yeah.
And so you should try. You really should try to go to these events and try to travel and even if it's only once a year, it doesn't have to be every fucking day.
Yeah.
Like, see, the thing about me is that I knew that I was privileged. I knew living in Southern California, right? I have access to a plethora of events and mixers and talks. You know what I mean? Just yesterday, there was a talk with all of the lead artists on the Black Panther movie in Noman. And I could have went. It was free. I didn't go because I have babies. And I've done my fair share of workshops. But if I was still a student and I was still trying to, you know, really put my name out there. I mean, even I was really contemplating of going because it's a big deal. It's still, you know, even if I'm already an established artist, you know?
Yes, yeah.
But I didn't because I take priority of FAMs, and I'm stable in my career, so I don't feel too much pressure. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. Do you mind one more quick question following up? Then when do you think is a good time to start going? Like, how do you tell that your portfolio is good enough to start?
The answer to that is easy too. It's you should go as often as you can. Okay, if you don't think your portfolio is good enough or not, it doesn't matter. You'll go. People will tell you it's not good enough. Okay, and you'll get some real good insight from all sorts of different people.
Yeah.
You get it? Like, people will tell you all sorts of different things that you'll need to hear. And sometimes it'll be conflicting. And so you need to hear that. You need to hear conflicting feedback. So then it'll confuse you, but in a way that will make you kind of consider thinking about what you should put in your portfolio. All that stuff, make mistakes, right? And then, so for instance, my advice on that, if you ever get feedback that seems contradicting, like one person says, you need more oranges, and then you go to another person and says, you have too many oranges, right? You're like, what? Like, what do I do? You know, the answer to that is very simple. If you get answers and feedback that's kind of like dodgy, is not really specific, one or two things are probably true. One, that company might actually be looking for oranges and they wanted to see more, or not be looking for oranges, so they don't want to see any more, right? Which is then a bias opinion. That means it's not really good feedback because it's specific for that studio. And so then you have to ask yourself, do I want to work for the studio? And if the answer is no, then don't put more oranges. If the answer is yes, then put more oranges, right?
Okay.
And and the better question is, do you want to do oranges? All right. And then the second way you can perceive that kind of feedback, and probably the most honest one, is that you just suck. And they're just trying to be nice. They're trying to find something you don't have and say, oh, you need more of that. Does it make sense? Because if you're really good, they're not going to tell you what you're missing. They're going to tell you that they don't need you because that's not what they want, right? Like, if you look at someone like Vitaly, I like to use Vitaly. Oh, dang it, not Vital, because he's very specific. If you look at Vitaly's stuff, and if I showed this work to, let's say Pixar, and I'm Vitaly Bogrov, and I'm showing this to Pixar, Pixar would be like, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you know, you need more animation stuff, right? Like, your portfolio is okay, but if you had more animation stuff, you'd have a better chance. You know, they wouldn't say that. Yeah. They most likely would say, dude, like, why are you applying, man? This is clearly not what we're looking for. Like, you're amazing. You should really apply to like Boston Dynamics or something. Like, we would love to hire you. We would just have no use for you. We don't do any of this stuff, you know, which would be the most straightforward and honest one. And they would say that with confidence because they can truthfully say that this person is amazing. So it's not a problem of quality. Make sense?
Yeah.
And so they'll straight up tell that person or anyone, be like, yeah, you're amazing, but like I just can't imagine what we would do with you, right? And Vitaly probably wouldn't be stupid enough to try to apply to Pixar with this portfolio, you know? Like he would know that his stuff doesn't fit there either. You would know if you're this expert at this specific style, you would probably have a clue that you can work there either, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, and so then so usually you'll hear that like conflicting, but it's because some people just aren't honest with you. Okay, so if you get like conflicting feedback, then keep all that in mind. Now, what should I what should I do if I just want to know like how good I am without getting it reviewed? Again, I think you should still get it reviewed by complete strangers constantly, right? But let's say you just don't have access to that right now and you want to still have a gauge. That's also still easy too. Just go to ArtStation, put your artwork next to your favorite artists, and ask yourself a very honest and very serious question. Is it as good or better than this person? And if you understand what I'm trying to get that at, you see what I'm saying, right? Like there's a really easy way to find out. You don't have to guess. Put yourself against the best, you know?
Yeah.
And here's a really good way of thinking about this is if you applied for the job and someone else applied, the artist that you're looking at, your inspiration, also applied, who would get that job? Do you get it?
Yeah.
I know it seems pretty heavy hitting, like, oh my gosh, but that's reality. If I applied for a job that you guys applied for too, you know, I'm your competition. I was your teacher and mentor, but it doesn't change the fact that I can also apply to these jobs. I learned this firsthand. Huh?
I said, please don't.
Yeah, just let me know when you guys apply. I'll make you guys experience it. And let me give you a good example. This actually happened to me. So I was applying to a company called Insomniac Games. They made games like the Ratchet and Clank franchise. They're making the new Spider-Man game. And so I worked with them, or I wanted to work with them when I was first starting out, and I applied to their company, and the guy that was reviewing my stuff was the art director, I believe, and he's like, look, man, this is actually really good, and we could really use stuff like this. But we already hired somebody. We already got somebody that we are rolling with. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. You know, and I was kind of upset about it. I was like, oh, well, you know, it's all good, dude. He's like, I get it. And he was like, you know, like, just so you know, like, who we hired, you know, so you can kind of get a sense of like who your competition was, because this guy was trying to help me out, right? Like he was trying to be a good, you know, good person, and just show me like that the person that they hired was really good, you know, and so this is why, and this is what I should strive for.
Yeah.
So then they showed me, and the artwork that they showed me was the artwork done from one of my mentors named Carlo Aroleno, like someone that I actually went to classes with and I learned from. You see what I'm getting at? And I remember that moment because when that happened, I was just like, my feeling was exactly like this. This is exactly how I felt. I was like, oh, yeah, you guys made the right choice. I was like, yeah, this person's clearly better than me. He's my mentor. I actually learned from him. You know, he's one of my teachers, and he's like, oh, that probably explains why you have some pretty cool designs. And I was like, yeah, he taught me a lot of that. And he's like, oh, well, you know, like, you know, good luck to you and all that good stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, tell Carlo that he's a lucky bastard. You know?
Yeah.
And I learned that day that all of my favorite artists that I look up to were also competition. Like, for whatever reason, and I'm sure many of you guys had this false sense of reality too, right? For whatever reason, you may think that your teachers and your favorite artists are like competing at a different league, right? Like it's a video game, like there's Masters League, and then there's like Bronze League, and you guys are competing only at bronze level. No, like if if a small startup company could hire me, like if they had the money, they would hire me over some of you. Do you understand? It's not like they would be like, oh, well, we're going to give these younger chaps a chance. Like if they were going to give me $500 for a drawing, and I feel like I can do that drawing in 2 hours, that's $250 an hour. Yeah, I'll take that job, right? Or maybe it'll take you guys 10 hours, 12 hours, right? And it might not be nearly as good as it needs to be. I would then beat you guys out, wouldn't I? Do you see that?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like why would I not be part of that equation? And many other great artists. So whenever you have this conundrum about like, oh, how do I know I'm good? Like it's pretty clear, okay? And it's different for the kinds of studios you work for, and that's why you look at the type of studios that are hiring and the kinds of work that they do. And you have to always think that if they're hiring people on the basis of this person can walk in through those doors, sit down at the computer that we set up for them, and get to work right away. And not only could they do that, they could potentially bring more to the table, or they can, inspire the rest of our team. Does it make sense? If you think that companies are like, well, we'll bring you in and we'll teach you how to become a better painter and do all that stuff while we pay you, you're really delusional and naive, okay? There are some instances where this exists, and they're called internships, okay? Because there's a very clear agreement that you are a student. We're not going to pay you as much, because this is more of a learning experience for you, as well as we're getting some work, right, at a low cost. But most likely you're not top notch anyway, right?
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. And you shouldn't be disheartened by that. You should be beholden to it. You should be inspired by that, because what that means then is that the industry is truly a meritocracy, and that's good news. Meritocracy means it's a merit-based system, meaning that if you are good enough and people know that you exist, you will get those jobs. Got it? It's not heavily political. It really isn't. Okay. Like we have some female students. I have a few. I've been getting more and more female students in my classes, which is exciting. And so some of the female artists here, you might feel sometimes there's some artists will ask me, some female artists say, is there like some real sexism in the game and film industry? Film industry, I think there might be some hardcore misogynistic sexism, like the kind of stuff you've been seeing lately, right?
Yeah.
But in the game industry, I don't think so. The kind of sexism that I see, or kind of the awkwardness that I would expect to see from the female artists, is that you're in a room full of dudes, man. And dudes are dudes, and they're going to have their feelings, right? And in most cases, they keep to themselves, right? But I get it. It's awkward. I get it. In fact, I talked to one of my students. I was like, what do you think too? Because she was working, and she was saying, well, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's like the plain old, like freaking archaic sexism, like that real intense misogynistic kind. But it's like the kind where they're just like creeping up on you, want to get a date, kind of like, I'm just trying to work, and they're just trying to hit on me. And I'm saying, yeah, that sucks. But it's not really as terrible as some people may think it is. And so if you're really good, they'll hire you. That's just how it is. Most studios work that way. So for instance, I worked with some of the best artists in the industry who are female, like Laura Austin. I worked like right by her, and she felt uncomfortable in a lot of situations. She was talking to me about this. She says like when she does talks for Blizzard, because she's like the face of a lot of like illustrations that they do, right? Because she's the best. She's like one of the best illustrators out there, right? And there would be these female gamers or journalists or whatever. They'll like literally call her out and be like, "Why aren't you doing more for the feminist movement?" And she's just like, "Dude, I just want to paint. Like, Blizzard's not sexist or anything. They just fucking Like they just hired me because I'm good and I just do good paintings, and I like it that way. I like to paint. I like to go home and bake really exotic breads, and then just fucking hang out and play video games, right? But like there really isn't that much political, or I'm sure there's some, right? I'm not saying that it's non-existent. Of course there is, right? Some people are fucking douchebags on both sides, right? There was sexual harassment from one of the female leads at Naughty Dog on some dudes. So it goes both ways, right? But I'm just saying, in my experience, I've never seen it. I haven't heard much. Very few stories. I asked. I was like, "Tell me all your stories," and there was only a few, which is great. So it says to me, it's truly a meritocracy. Like there is a merit-based system in the game industry, specifically working in the game industry as an artist. It's just that you need more people applying for these jobs that are female if you want to balance the odds, and it just hasn't been the case until up until the last few years. Right? Like I said, I've been getting an uptick of female students. Before I would have none or to one or two. Like right now, I think I only had one or two in this class. Yeah. But it's not like I'm like when people apply for my class, or I'm sorry, they don't apply. When people buy my class, I'm like, wait. Are you a dude or a chick? No, it's just whoever buys the class gets in my class. It's really that simple. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just a number. It's a simple numbers game. And so for specifically talking to you, Maya, right? That'll be the one concern is just really awkward is a sausage fest for sure. But if you're great, like you're gonna get jobs. You'll do fine. My friend Carla Ortiz, she's like one of the leading like illustrators on Marvel now, you know. And
how you spell her name?
Carla, Karla Ortiz, Ortiz. She's an epic illustrator too. She's really good. And so that's the good news is what I'm trying to say is that, you know, there are some barriers for those who are international because of visas and all that stuff. And I can't speak to that because I've never experienced it, but I've heard that it's tough. Okay. But there's always a solution because there are obviously international artists who work internationally or like domestically in different countries, right? Or I'm sorry, like they work internationally in the different countries and domestically in their own country as freelancers, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
So there's always a way, okay? It might be harder for you than it is for me. That's for damn sure, right? It's because of localization, you know? Yeah. But it does not to say that you can't, okay? It's just going to be harder. You're going to be that success story.
Thanks for the answers.
Yeah. And on top of, like I said, yeah, dudes are just weirdos, man. Like we are biologically wired to be a little bit more aggressive, and it's just how it is. And I wrote like one of my friends, Jessica, she wrote about like because I posted this thing about this girl who was getting hit on LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh man, come on, dude. Like I get that dudes want to date. You know, there's some really beautiful women on social network, and they feel like, you know, I could probably reach out to this person, and I'll be the one that sways her to look at this as a casual exchange between two people. You know, I get that thinking because I used to be a teenager too. Okay. It's a very immature behavior is what I'm trying to get at. Right. I remember one time I was at camp. I think I was like 14 years old, and there was this really beautiful girl that I was really attracted to. And I went into her tent and I said, I love you. And I ran out. And I remember thinking, what in the creep did I just do? That was probably the creepiest, most stupidest thing that I could have ever done. I was so embarrassed. And I couldn't look in her in the face after that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I don't think she ran away. Hashtag me too. Yeah, no, it was bad, man. But that was a kid, dude. It was hormonal. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And so I get that. People have done that. People have done cringy, embarrassing things. And even adults, you know, I get it. You know, but there's some obvious common courtesy things. This is a clearly a professional connecting website. It's not Facebook, you know what I mean? And this person, for whatever reason, thought it would be fine to just hit on this girl. And I'm like, yeah, I don't get it, man. I feel like there needs to be like an ethics class that's taught in high school that teaches kids that like when you get older, don't do this stupid stuff. Okay. And yeah, and his reaction to that was doubling down, which I thought was really hilarious. That she was the one that was in the wrong. And I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's stupid. My wife, for instance, is a very beautiful woman, and she shows me from time to time all of these messages she gets. And I'm like, oh man, dude, that's nuts. Like some people will write her these like long ass poems and everything like that. It just doesn't happen to us dudes. It just doesn't. I mean, maybe if you're like super attractive, dude, I'm sure you may get some of that. But that's the criteria, isn't it? You got to be like extremely handsome or attractive, at some capacity. And I'm sure then you get some of those women are really don't know boundaries either. But so with all that being said, I understand the predicament that some female artists may have when they go to like a boys only feeling club. It'll be like how I felt when I went to the gay club with my friend, that it was a lot of fun and I actually enjoyed it, dancing, but I felt awkward a lot of the time, especially in the bathroom. It felt real awkward, and not because I felt like these guys were going to all of a sudden start raping me or anything crazy. It was just like little stuff. Like this one guy looked over the stall at my junk while I was peeing. And I thought that was a little absurd. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's what it must feel like. Yeah, this is what it must feel like to be just Google-eyed all the time, right? And I had a really strong perspective after that. I didn't like fight him or anything. I was just like, it's fine. Like, I'm just going to get out of here. And I think most women feel this way. They're just like, okay, look, it's fine. I'll just fucking get the fuck out of here. And they don't like it. It's uncomfortable. But most women are reasonable about it, but they don't let stuff, like if he was to try to grab me, they don't let stuff like this slide. And some women do, and it's not acceptable. They shouldn't. They should definitely voice it out. But it was like, yeah, it was really eye-opening. Another eye-opening position that was told to me, because I used to go to a lot of gay clubs because my best friend was gay. He was one of the people who taught me how to paint. So I used to go with him because he was just coming out, and I'll just be his wingman. And so I became really good friends. And then so I became friends with some lesbians, and we had Denny's like a year ago. And they were telling me how they wish there was more like lesbian only gay clubs. And I was like, oh, what? Like I never thought about it. And they're like, well, yeah, because if you ever been in a gay club? Like I was like, yeah, a lot of them. He's like, yeah, most of them are just dudes. It's just mostly dudes. Right. And I'm like, oh, women can be gay too. Like it didn't like click. Like of course they can, right? But I just didn't understand that there was like a scarcity. Does he understand?
Oh,
because women are like lesbians too, obviously, but like most gay clubs are specifically just gay men clubs, right? And I didn't think about that. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I was asking if there were, and they said there was a few, and one of them closed down because not a lot of people showed up. And I was talking to them, we were laughing because they were like, yeah, I wish there was like a gay club where, you can just have coffee and like just sit down and hang out and talk to, people. It's actually not a club. It's more like Starbucks. And then also like nobody else shows up other than maybe 2 or 3 people. And then we were just all joking because I was like, well, then you just mean like a coffee shop then, right? Like just go to Starbucks. And then they're just like, yeah, I guess that's our lesbian bar. And,
hey, I've got a few questions.
Oh yeah, sorry. I went on a tangent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I get these in. So I may have misheard you, but did you want me to do 3 more characters with 3 iterations each or 5?
Who's talking?
Eric.
Who's this? Eric. You should have 5 total with 3 iterations each. So there are 15 drawings total.
Okay, thank you. And So you said it's important to go to events and mixers and stuff.
Absolutely.
I used to live in California. Do you think I should move back to California to be in better proximity to?
Yeah, living in California is dope. If you can, without any dramatic cost to your life, then yeah, why not? But if it's like a whole thing, then just come visit. You don't have to always. Like, where are you at right now?
Denver.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that people don't consider is you can just always drive, make like a long road trip. You know, but I don't think the flights out are that expensive either, especially if you go get the tickets earlier. And if you also have friends and family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then it's even easier to just like come out here, right? Because you just say, hey, I'm going to come down. Can I just bunk with you? Do you understand?
Yeah.
But moving out here is definitely helpful. Like, I'm not going to deny that, right? Because then you have close proximity. Like, for instance, let's say you were living here right now, Southern California. You know that event I just talked about with the Ryan Meinerding and like Jack Tsai and Andy Park, the guys who designed like pretty much most of the Marvel movies visuals.
Yeah.
Was free. You could have went.
Yeah. I used to take classes at Noman.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But is it like imminent? Like, is it like if you don't, then you're never going to? No, it's just going to be different. And plus, living in America in general, there's plenty of game companies from all around the states. You know, you don't have to always come to California. Like, I believe Unreal is like in Dakota, I think it is, or like Unreal Epic. If you look at, there's some other companies that are in Georgia. I can't think of it. High Voltage, I think, is in Georgia.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? They're all over the place, dude. They're not. It's not just like there's only 2 companies or anything. Like some biggest ones, or the bigger ones, right? Blizzard's in Irvine, which is where I live. You know, and then in Santa Monica, you both have Sony Santa Monica and you have Riot Games. You know, and it's only a 45-minute drive for me with no traffic. A 2-hour drive if there is traffic. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Should I base where I want to work off of like the company I work at that best?
You should. Yeah. Let me answer that really strictly. Like, you should make artwork that says a lot about what you want to do as a professional. Okay. Because if you focus on just trying to get a job in general, then you're going to get a job and you're probably going to hate it. But if you focus in on trying to, to work for a very specific company because you love them, then it makes sense for you to make your artwork pander to their aesthetic. Okay, because that's an intelligent choice. Like, if you want to work for Blizzard Diablo team, then make Blizzard Diablo looking artwork. Remember how I said earlier, people want to hire people like that they can just bring them right into the door and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no training involved. There's still going to be training, of course, at some low level, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like how to use their submission stuff or how to review your artwork. Oh, these types of things, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
But nothing like, can you paint this aesthetic, right? Like, it shouldn't be like that. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Yeah. And for the future, like what Eric did, if you feel like, hey, okay, just going on a rant about something else, yeah, feel free to interrupt me. It's fine. I don't get offended by that. Especially if I'm not talking about anything art related.
Yeah, dude, maybe like not gun control next time.
Yeah. I can't promise that I will not rant about political stuff because it's frustrating. It's like what's on my mind.
It's cool, man. I completely agree. It's just yeah, awesome.
Any other questions? I'll take 1 or 2 more and then we're gonna bounce. I didn't have to pick up my daughter today, so we can bleed a little bit longer.
Yeah, I had one.
Go for it.
I'm really just curious to know, like, what are you doing to get more students?
I haven't done it in a while, and I actually need to do more of it. But usually streaming works.
Yeah.
Because there's a correlation and a causation to my streams. So the more I stream, the more I sell tutorials and the more I sell out my classes. Because usually a few things happen. When people hear me talk and answer the questions the way that I've been answering a lot of your guys' questions, right? Even because usually I don't do it in length like I am with you guys. Accompanied with like a painting that I do, right? People are like, yo, I think this guy's got ideas.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just marketing 101. It's exposure, right? And if you have a good product, then usually it will do fine. But it's like I said, if nobody knows, then nobody's going to get into it. Get it? And so to sell my classes, usually streaming is one of the most effective. Okay. Just because I'm pretty well spoken and I give pretty fulfilling answers, usually. And then people are like, wait a minute, I can get like a whole class where he can do that the whole time and like give me answers to my own personal work. Sick. That sounds like a good idea, you know? And that's usually
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, that's usually the thought process I believe is true for most students that take my class. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Think about it like this. When you watch like a movie trailer, like I saw that Mission Impossible movie trailer, right? And it was just dope. Like they had like all this epic action, and there was a scene where they were like in the bathroom and they were like fighting this Asian dude and they're like whipping his ass and he was whipping their ass. And I was like, damn, this is so dope. And like it was so good. Like the hits were, and he was like in a helicopter and he was flying and it was his real stunts, you know. And then the music was really cool. It was like and then it had like this kind of R&B singer singing this song, and then you're just like, oh man, this is great, you know. It gets you real amped and you're like, I can't wait. I want to watch this movie now, right? That's why they make that. Get it? Like they make it because they give you like a snippet of like what you can get, and it looks of quality. It's evident in the trailer. You can see all the cool shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go watch it, and then maybe it's just a shitty movie, but you already got your money, so it's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
But
you're already there.
But the Mission Impossible movies are generally great. Almost that's why they keep making them. Okay, and I'm a fan of their franchise, and I keep watching them because they are great movies. I love action movies, and I love Mission Impossible. Like I love them. So not only am I getting hit because of the trailer, I'm also getting hit by the nostalgia, right, and the fandom. And so something very similar happens whenever you're an artist. You're like trying to get better, and then you see, oh, Anthony Jones is doing the stream, and you're just like, oh, what's this guy about? And then I start painting this like really bizarre fucking thing, or something that's really fascinating perhaps to you. And there's a little bit of you thinking, oh man, if I can just get a little bit of what that guy's doing, that would be great. And then someone asks a question like, hey, what brush do you use? And I say to them, this is the brush I use. This is why you should use it. Consider this, consider that. And your question wasn't stupid. And they're like, oh, what? And then that's how people subscribe to you. You know, think about your favorite YouTubers that you subscribe. You'll see a pattern. You'll see that usually what they say or have to say, you subscribe to. And there's a little bit of like some kind of like cult following that happens with that too. So that's why I try to be as objective as I can with all my feedback, because some people will just blindly believe what I may even say, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm very aware of that. I'm actually quite aware of that. That's why I used to just paint and just show people like, just paint like this. But then I ended up with a lot of clones. And I was like, well, that's not good. It's not that I don't want people to draw or paint like me. I can't stop people from doing that. It's just that I already exist and you're just a subpar version of me. You need to stand out on your own so you can really become your own artist. So you'll notice that everybody in the class actually has their own style relatively to one another, right? Yeah. And that's ideal. That's what I prefer. you know, because then everybody here is gauged based off of their own skill and their own ability. Because you'll discover as you become better that there is no best kind of artwork, right? It's everybody has their own artwork and their own style that fits somewhere, you know? And so that's how I get students, though. It's basically just exposing like my lectures in some capacity. I was going to make a Gumroad video on how to promote your work, but then I decided I was going to use it as a marketing tool instead, and I believe it should be just free. And so I was like, yep, I'll just make it free. I already have all the materials. I'll probably make it over the weekend, and it'll be available on Monday.
Yeah, just sitting here like watching this painting right now, it's like so dope. I want to go and like create some gooey creature now.
Yeah, go for it. That's the point, right? And so that is how, right?
Yeah, thank you.
It's not too complicated.
Do you ever do like Instagram Live or anything?
I was thinking about doing that. I don't know what I would do, because Instagram Live, you can't just paint really easily. I saw one guy that I follow, actually, Miles. He I think he puts his phone like on a tripod or something, and then he just like paints. But he like does traditional, which is way more appealing. And to do that, it'll be weird to have like my phone like videotaping my monitor. But yeah, maybe people will be into it.
You'd be surprised. Yeah,
I don't know. There's only one way to find out. Oh yeah, and see, like what Edward was saying too. I think finding out I'm just a regular dude helps. Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm not like some sort of god. I'm just a guy who paints a lot. Yeah, I'm just some guy who paints a lot and really good at explaining why I paint the way I do. You know, that's pretty much it. And I know that's capitalizes why my business does pretty well. I sell out pretty much all my classes. The last 10 classes that I've had, I've sold out every single one. And so
that's
clearly,
just like from streaming?
Streaming, posting artwork on Facebook, on Instagram, ArtStation, just being online is what I'm trying to say. You know, I preach what I do what I preach. I try to be as genuine as possible, you know? So if you go to my ArtStation, I'm moving up in the ranks. And so let's go ahead and get the final countdown. I'm almost at 3 million views, dogs. So then tutorial in the making, how to promote your work. Oh yeah, I need to go to screenshots. All right, I'm gonna end the class after I explain this.
Yeah, just to like capitalize on what I said, like I think the reason I sort of realized that this could be a viable career is watching you and just realizing that, oh shit, this guy's just a regular dude who just put time in.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. You just put work in.
Absolutely.
Work. And yeah, I didn't want to gush, but like, thank you for doing it.
Oh man, thank you. No, I appreciate that. So I had like a 30-day plan, so I have 3 more days to go. So maybe I will wait. And the goal was to go from, well, just to show, like I almost posted pretty much every single day from the day that I started, which was 1/26/18. And so I went from 29,000 followers, 29,347 followers, okay, to 30,467. So in that time, I've garnered 1,000 new followers in a month's time. So if I keep this up, by middle of this year, I might be the #1 followed person, or by the end of the year, I might be the #1 followed person on ArtStation, simply by doing what I'm just doing. Okay, because right now I'm not.
Yeah.
But if I follow this metric, 1,000, right? which I think I'm going to make this a goal to become the number one, to make and prove this without a doubt. Okay. And this is excluding Show Pro members first, because that's cheats. So actually, I don't know, because the person I'm going up against is Ross, and he posts just as much as I do.
Yeah.
And he posts fan art, and that's just even harder to compete against. And so I'm not knocking it. It's just the reality. Okay. People find more attachment to things that they can recognize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I went up one rank. I was 19 before. And I beat Ruin Jaya, who no doubt is a better painter than me. And so 30,000. So I need 2,000 more. So about in 2 months, if I keep up at this rate, I will be at 17. You see that? And all I need to do to at least get to second place, which I believe is more reasonable, is to get to 40,000. So I need 10 months. So that's about right. Like by the end of this year, I will be at least, no doubt in my mind, within the top 5. Right? No doubt. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And in terms of likes, I'm already almost there. So let's go to likes, because they start with likes first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is something that I think I can beat Ross in. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I'm at 132,000 likes. Okay. Where was I at before? So I was at 1,200 or 122,000. So I went up nearly 10,000 likes within a month. Okay. So if I do it again, that will put me at 142,000. So where would that put me? Right here. So I would be 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? Then if I do it again the next month, that will put me right next to Peter. And if I do that again another month, so for 3 months, according to this logic, I will be the number one liked artist in 3 to 4 months.
Nice.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
This is objective reality. Don't fucking guess. Just pay attention. That's it. I am confident by this time I can do it. Okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't need a year. I need like a few months. Like I'll give myself 4 to 5 months. No problem. Yeah. And so what did I do? I paint as well as I can and post it nearly every day. That's all I did. I think I started on this one. This is the first of them all. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 8, 29, 30. So I did 30 posts since the first day that I decided to do this. So that's pretty much 1 post a day.
Nice.
I have a question in regards to that. So do you think it's good to post every day the best you're doing so far? Or should we have like a separate portfolio that demonstrates our best work, but we can maybe post every day to garner like viewership or followers?
Well, you should always try to post stuff that's good. And if you feel like there's some work that you want to separate, then you can. There's no reason why you can't. The point I'm making here is that the reason I got is growth on my ArtStation and Instagram and etc. is specifically by the simple tactic of posting decent work every day. Okay?
Okay.
The reason why the likes go up fast, I know exactly why. It's because each image gets at least a few hundred likes. You know? So if I post 10 images at like 100 likes minimum, that's 10,000 likes. You get it?
Yeah.
And I can post 10 images. That ain't no problem. You get it? Like, because I paint very quickly. And so it's just about not running out of ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. But Tumor Monsters never let me down. Okay. And so that's all I'm trying to get at. Okay. It's not really complicated, guys. And it's a very earnest way of doing it. It really is. Because Ross has a lot of followers and likes because he posts often and consistently. And he has a YouTube channel. He is doing good work too. Whether you like fan art or not, it doesn't matter because he does it consistently and effectively. He is a smart artist. That's all I'm trying to get at. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't like that style, that's your own problem, not his. Okay? Because he's making a living literally off of his own schedule, his own creative outlet. You know, obviously expanding off of other people's IPs, but he's not alone in this. Many people do this. You know? I mean, if you'd even think about our favorite movie directors and their movies, like Jurassic Park is just Steven Spielberg picking up someone else's IP and putting it to film. It's technically a glorified and official fan art film, if you think about it, right? Ready Player One, same shit. Okay, so you say what you will with fan art, it's still hard. Okay, in fact, I used to do fan art a lot, and I think I'm going to do one this weekend to see if I can explode my viewership even more. And if you ever do fan art, always do fan art of things that you're actually fans of, right? Don't do stuff just because it's popular. Do it because you actually like it. So that way because I can tell that people like Ross, they're really reaching for it, right? They're trying to find whatever they can because there's only so much you can do, you know? So then you're going to have to do IPs that maybe you're not a big fan of, but you know they're popular. But that's your strategy, business strategy. So it's fine. I don't want to build my platform off of that, but I love to do fan art. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of things. There are things that I'm a fan of, and I don't mind trying to make my own version of it. It's not a bad idea. Okay. And so, yeah. So keep an eye out. Check back in around June and July. And by then, hopefully I'll be number one at likes.
Well, now you have to.
Yeah, we'll see.
You told us all.
Yeah. But I was just trying to make a point. You guys can see if I keep this trajectory, it should work out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's something predictable. It's not like this weird loose, like, how do I get followers? Simple. Post often, consistently, and effectively, and make it as good as you can. That's it. You don't have to post every day. You can post every other day. You can post once a week, as long as it's consistent. Got it? All right. I'll let you guys go. I didn't have to pick up my daughter, so this is the product of it. We can talk a little bit longer. But I got to go now for sure. Latest, guys.
Thanks, dude.
Have a great weekend. Hope this was informative. And yeah, try not to get shot. Only if you're American. Everyone else, you're fine. All right. Peace out, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.